Today on Coding 101, we are going to review tuples or tuples, and we're checking out functions. Get ready.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Coding 101 is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Coding 101 is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code CODING. And by Shutterstock.com. With over 35 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code CODING514. Welcome to Coding 101. It's the show where Snubs just knocked off her pack, and also where that's a secret, we bring you into the world of the code warrior / monkey. I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Shannon Morrison. For the next 30 minutes, we are going to get you all coded up on everything you need to know to be a code warrior.
That's right. Now, we have some sad news.
No.
This will be the last episode of this module of Python.
But I was just getting into it.
I know this, but you know, this is how it works. Remember, this is how we decided we wanted the show to work.
That's true.
What we created. We didn't want to stay with one language too long because
we like to get everybody excited and then fail.
And fail.
No.
No. The real reason is because we wanted people to realize that the important thing about programming are the concepts. It's
Yes.
all about the concepts. The language is all secondary. You just learn the language, and as long as you know how to program, how that conversion of real world to machine code works, doesn't matter what language you're programming in, you'll be a code warrior in any.
You know, I've noticed as we've grown, you know, we started with C# and now we're doing Python, that there are so many similarities between all the different languages, but each one has different context. They have different values at the end of each argument and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
It's interesting, and here's the cool thing. Now that we're done with Python, we're going to start a new language. We're actually going to be moving over to Perl.
Yay!
And you're going to get a rerun of those same concepts. So it's
I'm
like
so
an
excited.
instant memory dump.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun. Get ready for it. Perl is next.
Yes.
You heard it here first.
Now, this is normally the time when we go into Snubs compiled.
True.
But we had some breaking news.
What kind of breaking news?
Well, evidently,
Oh, boy. I'm
we
scared.
did not screw up the pronunciation of tuple.
Oh,
No,
man.
we got
I feel
this
so much better.
over the weekend. I got a lot of hate mail from people who are like, excuse me, it's pronounced tuple.
Well, you know, a lot of people learn it differently from how I heard you say tuple, so that's the way I derived it to be. But I've heard other people say tuple as well.
But
so
actually,
what's right?
yeah, Brian, if you go to that page, I don't know if you can zoom in at all, maybe enlarge the page. If you go to the pronunciation, you'll notice that in the IPA, the International Pronunciation, it has both ways.
Oh.
You can say tuple, you can say tuple. It doesn't matter. Both are accepted. And this is one of the things that we tried to briefly touch on last week, which is this is one of those words that either pronunciation is accepted, like GIF or GIF. So, folks, all we're saying is if you know it one way, that's fantastic. I love you. Please keep calling it that. But open your mind.
Open your mind.
Speaking of open minds, you're going to go over tuples.
I am. So this was really interesting for me because I figured, I got to send my vendor for my wedding guest names, table numbers, and whatever kind of food they want. And I have to sort these all into different ranges. I have to sort them by food so they know how many people are having filet mignon or whatever, by table so they know who's sitting where, and then by alphabetical order so that they can put out the place cards correctly on a table. It's really confusing and it gives me a huge headache, but having a tuple helps me sort that information out without having to do all the work on the back end. I just let the computer do it for me.
And again, you know, we try to hammer this point last week, which is what's nice about those data sets is you're combining pieces of information that should go together.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things where you didn't actually have to. You could have different variables for each and every single one.
Sure.
But there is something that is much sweeter, something that is much better for, again, the representation of the real world in computer language when we take data sets.
Absolutely. So if you guys want to switch over to my computer, I'll go ahead and show you my example. This is my code. I didn't include very many notes in here other than sorts by food option, or I could change this over to, well, that was originally 2. Number 1 is sorting by the table option, so I could change it to that. And then I just hit save. And when I open it, Shannon's Doodles.
Filet mignon.
So it's going to sort by table. So we first had Shannon, then Keith, then Mrs. Kaufman and Mr. Kaufman at 2, Mrs. Morris and Mr. Morris at table 3. And then I could press enter to go ahead and continue from there. Now, a few things that I would love to do with this code that I've already written is, 1, make it pretty. So I could put each entry onto a different line. And then I could also export this into a text document so I could share it with my vendor. So there are so many other options that I can include in here. We've already learned all this stuff.
Exactly.
So I could just compile all sorts of interesting information into this code.
Well, that's the cool thing about doing code like this, where you recognize that it's working, but getting it working is only the start. If you're going to become a code monkey, you're going to start obsessing over those parts.
Oh, absolutely.
What you talking about, right? You're going to go, yeah, okay, well, the data's all right, but I want it to look pretty.
But I want to do this now.
I want this. I want it organized like that. And those are the things that will make you learn.
So we also got a couple of really, really cool viewer submissions as well, and I love these. So I just picked out my 2 favorite ones that we got in for the past week. The first one is from Lionel. So this one is called a deck shuffler. So if I
Isn't he one of the
make this a little
Thundercats?
bigger, he totally is. So he includes lots of notes, which is wonderful. He commented out a whole bunch of notes in red. And then each of these basically brings in a whole deck. So he has an entire deck listed out in Python. And then he sorts this deck into a whole bunch of different outputs. And he uses tuples in here as well. So if I run this code, let me pull it up right here. There we go. Okay, so first off, you bring in the deck. And I should probably... There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
So this is the unshuffled deck, just has all the regular ones. Then you shuffle it, so it brings back everything. It randomizes all the cards, and then you shuffle it again, and you can shuffle it one more time. After that, it uses the objects. So it sorts by diamonds, hearts. I think these ones are supposed to be spades, maybe in clubs. And then you can shuffle it,
ASCII
shuffle
art.
it again. And then this is his last one, and if I scroll up a little bit, there we go. So this lists the deck objects. And then scroll back down, and it shuffles it one more time, and closes
We're
out
done.
the...
Nice.
Yeah, very cool,
Simple
very simple.
program. Just mix up some data, and then
Exactly.
and then you can sort it.
The last one that I wanted to share, and this one is from, let's find out who this is from.
By the way, thank you, Lionel.
Joe.
Thank you, Lionel. You are definitely Python. Oh.
Perfect. Oh. So this one is from Joe. This basically takes the astronomy picture of the day, and it downloads it to your same folder that you have the Python code in, and then it also gives you a description of the picture in your command line. So if I run this code, and I'll show you what it looks like. So he imported a whole bunch of different libraries for this, including one that we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, we love it. Thank you for importing libraries.
Yay,
it's
fun.
important.
And then he enters in the picture right here, and then includes the text. And that's about it. So if I run this code right here, so it takes a few seconds for it to load, and then it brings up the picture.
This one, yes. I saw this one on
Gorgeous.
the Google Plus page. That is a beautiful picture.
Beautiful. Beautiful picture. And then if you close that out or just minimize it, you'll get also this little command line that opens up in Python, which is a description of the picture, what it is, where it's from, when they took this picture, et cetera, et cetera. Very interesting, especially if you're an astronomy nerd like I am. I love doing that kind of stuff. And now you'll see that the picture appears right here.
Oh, very cool.
So now you have a saved file of it. If they don't have a picture of the day, if they do a video instead, it won't download the video,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a function you could use to do that, but
Absolutely.
yeah, it's kind of Yeah.
But I really like those examples that you guys sent in. I thought they were more advanced, but they were fun and they were useful. I love astronomy, so that was a great one for me. I'm a nerd.
Well, I mean, again, it was a great example of using includes, which we've already told people are a great thing to pull into Python because it allows you to use code that you didn't have to write.
It's so cool.
And anytime you can do that, that's a good thing for a programmer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
We have some more fun coming up, but if you guys want to share your code over at the Google Plus community, we have Coding 101 on there, so you can go to gplus.to/twit Coding 101.
Yeah, and actually, remember way back when we started this module, I said I can almost guarantee you that we're gonna be at 1,000 viewers before the end of the module. We are at 1,000 viewers. Thank you so very much for joining the community, and thank you for sharing the word, because that's actually become an incredibly vibrant community.
Absolutely. I love it.
On my phone, I'm always doing the refresh, and there's always something new in that community, which is great. It means that you are really active, and we thank you for that.
I'm constantly downloading all of your code, and I love it whenever I can get it to work on mine.
Yeah. Now, when we come back, we're gonna give you the lowdown on functions. Some of you have asked, well, why do you keep using functions in your programs when you haven't really told us how to do it? Well,
it is time.
We are not immune to criticism, and if you want a good tutorial on functions, we're gonna break it down for you. But before that, hey, Shannon.
What?
You like the internets, right?
I love the internets.
The internets are kind of cool.
The internets is awesome.
Yeah, I found cats.
The internets is for
Cats.
dogs.
Cats, meow. No, but here's the thing. The internet's a great place to share ideas, right? The internet's a great place to push your products. It's a great place to get your presence known. But if you're not a programmer, or let's say you're not a web programmer or not a web designer, it can be kind of daunting. It's not like the old days. When my first web page was literally my name and then a picture, an animated GIF of like a guy doing construction work, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Right, and it was all home baked. It was cool to me, but now looking back at it, because I actually found it on my hard drive the other day, I'm like, wow, that was horrible.
I saved all of mine before they all got taken down when the old website got destroyed.
Well, but the problem with that is, if you are not a graphic designer, it can be kind of daunting to design something that actually looks good.
And nobody wants to go to a crappy website.
Yeah, which is why we're very happy to have as a sponsor of Coding 101, Squarespace. They're the one-stop shop for designing, for hosting, for building your web presence. Now, why would you choose Squarespace, you may ask? Well, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. Now, I have used Squarespace in the past whenever I'm setting up websites for parishes, which are notorious for not having a whole lot of tech-savvy people. Well, with Squarespace, they don't have to be tech-savvy. It does everything in the background, and they get these beautiful-looking sites with just a couple of clicks. Now, what are some of the reasons why you'll love Squarespace? Well, first, they're always improving their platform. They're not one of these companies that are going to sell you a product and then sit back and take in the money while their designs and their structure and their code and servers get older and older and older. They're always looking for new content and new ways for you to add pizzazz to your message. They offer new features, new designs, and even better support. Now, speaking of those designs, you can see Brian's going through some of the designs they have here, some of the content they have available. They have over 25 templates, which are absolutely gorgeous for you to quickly build your own personal or business site. They also have a great mobile experience. This is important for anyone who realizes that more and more of this content is being consumed on mobile devices. It's not just going to scale so that you have a tiny little site on a tiny little screen. It will know that it's on a mobile device, and as you can see on the screen here, it will scale it for you. It will change the content to be dynamic depending on someone looking at your site on a desktop, a laptop, or a mobile device. It's also really easy to use. If you want help, Squarespace always has people who are willing and ready to answer your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week via email and live chat. There's also a completely redesigned customer help site to help you with self-help articles and tutorials in case you want to push through. Now, Squarespace also includes hosting, which means you're not going to have to go to one vendor to buy the back end and another vendor to register your domain and a third vendor to give you the server space. No, it's all in one deal with one price per month. That's what I really like about Squarespace. Now, it does start at just $8 a month, which means it's not going to break the bank, and it's something that you can experiment with, but that doesn't mean that it's just a beginner's blog. This is something that can take you through from beginner to intermediate to advanced, depending on what you need and when you need it. Squarespace even has a developer platform, which means that their code is beautiful. And it means that if you want to dig into the site and customize it the way you want it, you're not limited just to their 25 templates. You can tweak it according to your needs and according to your tastes. Take as much time as you need before launching your site, and you pay nothing until it goes live. It's all part of their commitment to people who are developing creative sites. Now, that developer platform I spoke of also includes complete control, so you can edit all the code that affects the display of your website, every line of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Also Git and SFTP, so every template is a Git repository. That means that version control comes standard, so you can always step back if there's a change you don't like. It also allows you to connect to templates via Git or SFTP, so you can share your work or get the work of others. Now, here's what we want you to do. We want you to try Squarespace. We want you to start off with a 2-week free trial with no credit card required and start building your website today. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code CODING to get 10% off and to show your support for Coding 101. We thank Squarespace for their support of Coding 101. A better web awaits, and it starts with your new Squarespace website. Boom.
Bam.
Bam. Want to do some functions?
Oh, I'm so ready.
All right, all right.
Let's do it.
You've seen functions in some of the code examples.
Yes, I have.
And some of the examples that we've actually brought on with Dale Chase. And, you know, it seems very similar to what we learned in C#, but I think it's a good thing for us to go back over them and explain what it is when we're playing with functions. Now, you know that when we define a function in any programming language, the idea is we can write the code once and then we can use it many times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So, for example, if I have a menu, or if I have, say, a function that brings in input from the user and then sanitizes it, or let's say I have a function that does a particular calculation, rather than typing that over and over and over again, why not just turn it into a function?
Let the function do it for you.
Let the function do it for me. Exactly. That's what we're talking about with function. It's an efficient use of code, an efficient use of your programming resources. Now, when we are talking about functions in Python, all you need to know is def.
Def, okay.
Like def, not like, you know,
Like
hip-hop. No. It's DEF. That's how you define it. So every function starts with the DEF keyword. Now, and then the variables are passed into the function via a parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. If you go ahead and switch over to my screen, Brian, this is what a basic function looks like. So this function up top.
What in the world is happening there?
I stole this math from the python.org support page.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to try to say I did this. This is just a calculation that lets you figure out a number, the Fibonacci series inside any number that you give it.
What?
Yeah, so what I've done here is I've used the def keyword. Okay. Then I've created the name of my function. In this case, it's going to be fib.
Okay.
And then this, in parentheses, this is the parameter that I can pass into the function when I call it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so in other words, what this will do is it will, when you call it, it will take whatever number you passed from it, and then it will say, okay, give me all the Fibonacci numbers between 0 and that number.
Ah, okay.
So that's what that function
So you're
does.
defining the name of this sequence called fib.
Oh, the function. The function's
function
called
called
fib,
fib.
right?
And then the input is the
value that you
beginning
pass
number,
into it, right?
The value.
Yeah,
Okay.
the value that you pass into it. And then this is all the work that's going to be done on that value.
Okay, so that's all happening on the back end.
Yeah. Now, so this function, so I've got a separate function here. This one's called odd even. We actually did this one. This was, I think, episode 2 or 3 of coding of this module. It's going to take, it's defining a function called odd even, and then it's going to take the past variable called input, and it's going to run it through these calculations. All these calculations will do is they will determine if the number is even or odd. Okay, very simple. We covered this. This was an earlier lesson, so I'm just bringing it back in.
Yeah.
This one I kind of like. Remember how we told people,
sanitizing.
please sanitize your
Yes,
inputs,
absolutely.
right? So all this does, when you call this function, and realize there's no pass, so it's just you're calling the function straight up.
Oh, so you can do that?
Yeah, you can. Yep.
That's cool.
So there's no parameters I'm passing into this function. I'm using this is essentially a variation of the sanitization loop that Dale Chase gave us in episode 4. It's going to input a number using the raw input function here from the user, and it's going to put it inside of a loop until the function says, yes, you passed me a valid result.
Oh,
so
okay.
again, so what it's going to do is it's going to start off with the while loop running. It's going to input a number from the user, and then it's going to do this if-else statement. If the number is a digit, then it's going to set clean to 0, which will make the loop stop.
Ah.
If it's not clean, it's going to say that's not a valid number, and the
It'll
loop
print out
continues.
that's not a valid
right.
number.
And then it continues. This actually converts the string into a number. So you actually, now you have an integer value. And then this is important here. This returns the value to the code that called the function.
Okay.
Okay. So whatever value this code takes in, here it's going to push it back out to the code.
Got it.
Okay. Now,
A little confusing.
a little confusing, but it'll be made clear in just a bit. This is something that we always like to do. This is the main function. So this is the main part of the program, right? So when I call this function, and again, it has no parameter, you just run this function, it's going to build a little bit of a menu. It's going to call the sanitization function,
Yeah.
right? And then it's going to do an if-else statement and either push that value to the Fibonacci function, to the odd-even function,
Okay.
or it's going to exit the menu. Or, again, because we like to sanitize, it's going to say, that's not a valid input.
So if they type in 1, then it'll do the first one, the Fibonacci.
Right.
And then number 2, then it'll do the odd even.
Right.
And then after that,
3 is
it'll
exit.
do 3 to
Right.
exit.
And but if you type something else, it's going to just
It'll
say,
just say, nope.
Yeah.
Try
Now, here's
again.
the cool thing. My actual program consists of one line.
Main.
Main. That's all it is. So all of those things were defining functions. Functions can or cannot run.
Okay.
Right? If you never call a function, it doesn't matter if you define it. It doesn't actually run. So the only line here that actually does anything
Is main.
Is main. It's
Oh,
calling
I
the
get
main
it.
function.
That's
right?
cool.
It's kind of, and actually it's just really the way you want it. It
Yeah.
makes it nice
makes
and
it
simple.
clean.
It makes it clean, and it actually helps you to figure out what's happening.
Okay.
In your program. Okay. So if I run this is what it's going to look like.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. So please enter a number. I'm going to say 17. Okay. So welcome to Padra's useless number thingy.
That's so cute.
It's going to say calculate the Fibonacci series. Tell me if the number is even or odd, or exit. So
Okay.
1. There are my Fibonacci series.
Awesome.
Is the number even or odd? It's odd. Now, if I type something else, it'll tell me it's not a valid input. I type
That's
3.
cool.
It'll kick me out. Now, if I run it again, there we go. If I enter a number, if I enter an invalid number, so let's give it a couple characters. Because of the sanitization function, it's going to just keep revolving in that function until it actually gets a valid input. And the valid input, the way I coded it was the only valid input is a whole number, an integer. So if I put 3.14, it's still going to tell me it's not valid until it actually gets a number. There we go.
That's cool.
Now again, this is very simple.
Yeah.
We'd like to make it cleaner. We'd like to make it a little easier to understand. We'd like to make the menu, what we probably do is clear the screen between
Yeah, I'd say
selections.
so.
And of course, I wrote this 5 minutes before we went on there. So I didn't do that. But it's a really good example of everything that could go into a program that you're writing in Python. And this pretty much uses everything except for tuples and data sets that we've taught people in this module of Coding 101.
So to review, you're basically taking all these different functions, and that one simple main line at the very bottom is calling these functions depending on what the user inputs.
Right. So Brian, if you
so
go
cool.
back, to my screen, so this before the compiler gets to that, all of this does nothing.
Okay.
This does absolutely
So
nothing.
it's just going to be sitting in the Python code,
Right.
waiting.
Just because you define a function doesn't mean it's done anything.
Okay.
It just means that it's there when you call it. So when I do this, when I call the main function, then Python says, oh, do I have a function called main? Yes, I do. He defined a function called main.
So
Then
it
it's
runs
now
that.
let's run down it. First of all, it's going to say calculate equals sanitize. Sanitize is another function I defined. So it's going to go to sanitize and it's going to run the code in sanitize.
Cool.
Sanitize is going to say, okay, we're setting clean to 0. And as long as clean is 0, we're going to run this loop. The loop is going to say dirty input is equal to something that the user enters.
And that's why when you put in a bunch of gobbledygook, it just
Right.
said that's not a valid number.
Because it got to the if-else statement. And the if-else statement said, well, if it is an actual digit, then set clean to 1. And that while loop will stop running once clean is set to anything other than 0. If it's not a valid number, then the while loop will run again after printing that is not a valid number. So we'll just keep
That's
asking.
so cool.
Once that while loop is done, it moves to the next line. And the next line is clean input is equal to int dirty input. And all that does is it takes that dirty input, now that I know that it's a number, and it makes sure that it's in integer format so that my further calculations can understand it.
Okay.
And then it returns it to the code that called the function. The code that called the function is main. Now I'm down here, and I'm going into this other loop. And this other loop deals with this menu. This menu
Right.
will keep printing as long as I don't exit. And here you see the call to the Fibonacci function, you see the call to the odd even
even.
function, and
And then an
that's
exit.
how it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there you go, folks. That's and this is going to go into the GitHub. This is
That
going to
is
go
so
into our show
cool.
notes. And this is actually a really what I would say is, if nothing else, if you get totally freaked out by what we've been doing with Pyglet and all the advanced features, start with this menu, add your own functions, add your own features, and make it look pretty.
I wonder if my vendor contact would freak out if I just sent her this code and said, "Don't worry, just run it on your
Just do it.
computer.
Just do it.
Go through the menu."
Trust me,
figure it out.
it'll be fine. Now, when we come back, I think we need to welcome our Code Warrior back one
I think
more time.
so.
But before we do that, I'm thinking that maybe now that I've got that Squarespace website, I might need to reach out to some place that has really good creative imagery
I
and
think
videos
that's
for me
a
to
good
use.
idea. You might need some good pictures, some
Yeah.
good videos to really show what you're trying to tell your audience. I have a website for that.
What?
Shutterstock.com.
Oh yes, let's do that.
Have you heard of Shutterstock.com?
I have, of course.
This is the place to go for everything that you need. So this episode of Coding 101 is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. At Shutterstock.com, you'll find the perfect image or your video padre for your next creative project.
Woot.
Whether it's your website that you built on Squarespace, a publication, an advertisement, a video, or any other type of project, you can choose over 35 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. So you have everything there, right at the palm of your mouse. Shutterstock sources images from around the world, and they put them right there at your fingertips or at the click of your mouse. Many contributors to Shutterstock are professional photographers and artists, which is way cool, so you're going to get some excellent quality on there. Shutterstock reviews each and every image individually for content and quality before adding it to its library, and they add 20,000 images every single day, so pretty much every time you visit, you're going to find something new for sure. And they have flexible pricing. So say you just want one individual image and you don't need it that big, or you need 20 images and they all have to be, over 2,000 pixels each. Well, that's no problem because they have either individual image packs. I know, they're so cute. Or a monthly subscription for the best deal. So you can download 25 images per day with a standard subscription. And you can download any size, any image, and pay only one price. Plus, Shutterstock gives you the images you need to bring your creative projects to the next level, and they make it easy. They have sophisticated search tools so you can search and drill down by subject, color, dog type, file type, gender, emotion, even more. Let's say I want to find a picture. Hey, Brian, I want to find a really good picture of a bouquet for a wedding. B-O-U-Q-U-E-T, I think. Or flowers. That works too. Okay, there you go. So I want to find a good picture of a bouquet. Perfect. So I have plenty to choose right there. And it's sophisticated, so it knew exactly what I was looking for. They also have shareable lightboxes, so you can save images to a lightbox gallery and then access them anytime and share them with other team members. So you could always ask your friends, hey, do you think this would be good for our collaborative project for a website that we're building? Is this the right color scheme? An award-winning iPad app is super, super easy to use and very intuitive. So you can search on the go and use it to display images during presentations even. And they have a global marketplace. They have multilingual customer service in more than a dozen international countries and full-time customer support throughout the week. I absolutely love Shutterstock, and I think you will too. So you can try Shutterstock today by signing up for a free account. No credit card needed. Just start an account and begin using Shutterstock to help imagine what your next project could be like, and save favorite images to a Lightbox to review later. Hey, you could share them with me even. Once you decide to purchase, use the offer code CODING514, and new accounts will receive 20% off any package. That's Shutterstock.com, and for 20% off new accounts, use the offer code CODING514. And I would like to thank Shutterstock personally for their support of Coding 101. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Brian. I'm just wondering, how do you spell bouquet? Is it Flowers?
Yeah, it's pronounced bouquet, but it's spelled like flowers. It's
Got
really
it.
weird.
Well, the pro tip. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, so smart.
Now that we've got our content out of the way, I'm thinking we welcome back to the show one last time a man who brought Python to the masses, who opened our hearts to the love of Pyglet. Ladies and gentlemen, from
I don't
Discovery
wanna say
Digital
bye.
Networks, it's Dale O'Chase. Dale, thank you for coming
for me,
back.
Shannon Morse.
I love you, Dale. He's just like, oh, God.
Dale Chase, it's so good to see you again. How are you? Oh,
What's happening?
no.
We'll miss you, sir.
Where's my 21 gun salute?
I'm sure, actually,
guns.
we'll let Brian get on that. He'll get right there.
So,
Now, sir, last week you blew some wigs. People were freaking out saying, what is going on? Did you want to continue with the mind blowage this week?
No, I think we'll take sort of a bit of a step back.
Thank you, because
this week.
yeah, people were hurting. People were really hurting.
I was hurting a little bit. Actually, I ended up, trying to. I actually wanted to kind of take it a step further, but I ended up having some issues with Pyglet on my machine. So it was probably me. I'm not sure what I was doing, but I couldn't really go much further with it. But I decided to go with Tkinter. Or is that even the pronunciation?
we're not
for it?
we're not gonna argue pronunciation. Because
I don't even
we
know.
learned our lessons.
I was checking this out last night, too, and I just figured it was Tinker, but who knows?
Yeah, like Pyglet. I kept calling it Piglet. It just makes sense. I'm gonna call it Piglet. But let's go. We're gonna call it the T thing. So tell us all
Yeah.
about this T thing.
Well, I haven't haven't used it too much, but it's something that comes with most installations of Python actually. And it's a graphic user interface for
better.
Python, so you can
Okay.
actually do little windows and labels and buttons and text and lines and all kinds of cool things to kind of give your Python programs an actual application look and feel.
Yes!
Oh, by the way, I would like to point out the fact that VEQ in the chat room gave you a 21 gun salute inside of inside of a C# for loop.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So well done, sir.
Awesome.
Well done, I salute you. All right, now, so the advantage to this, of course, is that we don't have to go out and get it. We don't have to,
Yeah.
to get a package elsewhere. This is built into the Python installation. Thank you. There it is. For int I equals 0, I, as long as it's less than 21, increment salute.
Awesome. Nice.
Thank you. All right.
Nice.
All right, now show us. Show us how this works.
Well, I mean, I just did sort of a basic window with some squares and lines going on. Basically, here's what I've got, and I'll show you what I'm doing here.
Slow your roll.
So, so this is just a little window that's plotting 5 squares sort of randomly, and it's putting some text to the screen. And then if I click this button here, draw a line, it draws a line.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
yay, geometry.
So, yeah, and that's all that's accomplished in just a few relatively simple few lines. All I'm doing is importing from Tkinter. So from Tkinter, import everything, and to do my sort of random pseudo random square placement, I'm importing random. The random module. And so since you guys are doing functions, I decided to put my draw line as a function. But I'll skip that for now. I'll come back to that because that's sort of declared out here.
This is awesome.
So,
This is all coordinate system geometry. I mean, this is super easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can get more advanced with it, but this is just the simple, kind of get you going, with the simple stuff. So I'm instantiating the class here, the tkinter class, and calling it TK. And then I am creating the window, the canvas, using the class, my instantiation of TK, and then
Right. You give it a size.
Yeah, 200 by 200 pixels. And then this pack function essentially displays it.
Okay.
And then I'm creating the little text.
That goes inside, right?
Yeah, so this text right here.
Yeah, cool.
So that's created by calling canvas.createText. So I'm putting this text on that window I've created.
Oh.
Setting the X and Y value, X and Y coordinate for where I want the text to be placed.
Is that
And then-
the pixels?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's just XY coordinates, right? So you've got the XY coordinates of the text where it's going to start. Then you have the text itself. So you're passing it, four different parameters: the starting spot, the text itself, the font that it's going to be in, and the fill of the text box.
Ah, the
That's
color. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, actually, no. This is the fill, the color of actually the text itself.
Oh, of the text. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And so, as you see, I've just actually changed that text to an actual message that we could both see the next time I run it.
And it has a function to create a button. I love that. That's
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's like the visual languages now.
Totally. So I've got this variable btn, which I'm assigning a button to. And again, just like creating the window, I'm calling it a button using the class I've instantiated and labeling the button, draw a line. And so here's where the function I declared earlier comes in. This is sort of a callback, but here's the command, and then I want the command to be when I push the button to call my function draw line.
Oh.
So when I push the button, it's going to run this function, draw a line,
Oh, I see what you're doing.
which puts canvas.createLine at 5 at x5 y5 and 100. Wait, it's a line, so why do I need two values of 100? I don't remember why I need two values for 100. But yeah, so it draws the line there.
And you're
Yeah.
giving it coordinates, so it's not going to be
Yes.
a random line. It's going to start and end where it tells you to, or where you tell it to.
Right. And oh yeah, of course I needed to. All right, I'm sorry. So these are right. So these are my X and Y coordinates for the start of the line, and these
And
are my
the
X
end
and
of
Y.
the line, right.
Forgive me. I'm.
Yeah, you know what? It's a Thursday, and I think we're brain farting.
So then down here, I've got a little bit of a loop, kind of pulling into something else we've already covered.
Oh.
So my loop is a range of 0 to 5, and so X is going to be taking that value, and so I'm. Oh wait, why did I do that? Oh, hold on a second. So all right. I should actually change this. That's why this is us. Let me make this J.
Yeah, while you change that, we're getting a comment in the chat room from Harlequin who's saying, "Oh, coming from C# Python is quite unattractive to look at." It's very, very different. I mean, C# was a visual language, so of course it is kind of pretty. You know, it's a nice, pretty window, and it tells you exactly what values you can choose for individual functions. But one of the charms of Python has always been the fact that we can be in Notepad, we can be in any text editor, and we can pound out code and run it through an interpreter. It's a little faster, and it's a little lower barrier to entry than C#. You know, so again, different language for different purposes.
All right.
So
thanks. That gave me some time to get this line in order. So basically, I want this to loop through 5 times and just draw 5 rectangles. And then I'm creating a random number between 0 and 175 and assigning that to J. And I'm just using that as my X and Y values, just to kind of sort of put it somewhere.
So it's going to start at a random spot, and it's going to end at 2525.
No, the 25 are the sides of the rectangle.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So this is the width. This is the width and height of the rectangle.
Got it.
And
the
so
outline being in purple, that means that the rectangle is going to be outlined in purple.
I hope so.
That's correct. And I can actually
got
use
that
the
part.
fill. I can actually use the fill here too.
Yeah. So just like
And
you
I
did with the
can-
text, you could fill it with
Exactly.
a particular color.
Yeah, so I'll fill
Can you
that
say
with
red? Red.
red. All right, we'll go red.
All right.
Run
Run
yeah,
it.
so-
Run this bad boy.
Let me clean that up. And so yeah, it's I'm using raw input, slow your roll to keep it from disappearing.
Right.
The window from
Oh.
disappearing. And so there you have
Oh,
it.
there
And
we
Shannon
go.
is off the screen.
It worked.
Well, Shannon is off the screen.
Yes.
She's off the hook.
The new off the hook, off the screen. All right, and then there's my line again.
It worked.
Yeah.
Now, okay. I know for a fact that this is so much more accessible than Pyglet was for our crew. I had trouble with Pyglet, but if this is integrated into Python, if this is something that I can just include, yeah,
Why not
suddenly,
mess with
yeah,
it?
why not? I think this is absolutely. I mean, the little menu program that I just did, I could have put all of that inside of a box. I could have
Oh,
given
yeah,
it
you
some nice
could've.
colors. I could have given it a nice font, rather than just standard ASCII art.
Maybe I should send that to my vendor.
There we go.
She's going to hate me so much.
Dale Chase, you are awesome. We want to thank you so very much for being our code warrior. We've really sort of, with you, we've defined what the code warrior is. Because the code warrior with Lou was great. He's an incredible teacher. But what we really wanted is we wanted someone who could sort of step off the page of what we were doing and just push forward the young code monkeys in their nascent state. And that's what you've done, sir.
I'm glad I could be a part of it. It's been a lot of fun and a learning experience for me as well.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to have you on the Twit network as much as we possibly can because you're an incredible talent. In fact, Brian, if you could you give us some tunes? I think we need a little something to listen
tunes.
to as we. Oh wait.
Oh, I know this song. They play this one at DEF CON.
Now, Dale, Discovery Digital Networks, you are also your own man. You're your own artist. Can you tell us what this is that we're listening to right now?
This is a song called WordPress off of my Limit Break album, featuring some good friends of mine, Dual Core, in 80 and C64. I love rocking with those guys.
Yeah. What we actually can issue this challenge to everyone out there. If you are getting into Python, download some of Dale's music and listen to it because it's all an inside
to it
joke.
while you code.
It is all an inside joke. If you code, you're going to start going, "Oh, did he really just say, oh my God, yes, I use that line all the time." That's what his art is all about. It's about merging his passion for music with his intelligent coding.
Yes.
Dale Chase.
That's
okay,
correct.
now we know that they need to go to your download page, but where else can they find you?
DaleChase.com, Dale O Chase on Twitter, and dchase.bandcamp.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dale Chase, Discovery Digital Networks. We thank our second code warrior.
So long, guys.
Python.
Love you. Salute. Bye, Dale.
Don't go. Damn it, Brian.
That's okay. We'll bring it back.
Now, folks, we know that this is a lot of information, so we're always going to include really, really exhaustive notes in our show page. Shannon, where can they find our show page?
Twit.tv/code, and that's where you can find a link to our GitHub as well.
Exactly. And in our GitHub are actually all the coding examples that we gave you. So the code that Dale just showed us so that you can make nice little boxes in your Python, it's going to be in there. The code that I created to show off the defining of functions, that's going to be in there.
My super simple tuple is going to be in there.
Her super simple tuple is going to be in there. So if you have any questions about what we did on the show, you don't have to keep pausing, although you can. You can just download our code and try it for yourself. Now, also, you're going to find us on iTunes. And we want to thank everyone out there who keeps subscribing to us, making us one of the most downloaded podcasts on iTunes. That's absolutely fantastic. And please continue to share the news about Coding 101. It's not just for people who want to program. It's for people who want to understand what programming is all about.
Absolutely. And we're also on YouTube over at youtube.com/twitcoding101. And we definitely check out all the comments over there. And I've been trying to keep up with everybody. everybody and check out what you guys want to see.
You're very good about that.
Thank you so much to everyone who has been watching the show over on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. Also, you heard Shannon mention earlier that we have a G Plus community. You can find us at gplus.to/twitcoding101.
Or plus.google.com.
Coding101. Go there because, again, it is a vibrant community. It's over 1,000 people. It's expert programmers. It's new programmers. It's people who are just curious about programming. And tell your friends, tell them to get in there because the more people we have in that community, the more useful it becomes.
It really is.
It
Yeah,
really is,
it's so great. Like, even if I have a question, which I do on several occasions, I'll just go in there and be like, why isn't this working? And they'll be like, oh, well, just fix this one line.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Magical.
Of course, if you're not into the G Plus groove, you can also find us on Twitter. Where are you, Snubs?
I am at Snubs.
Yeah, and I'm at Padre SJ. Now, next week, we are not doing Python. In fact, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing our wild card episodes. You may remember those between the C# and the Python modules where we got to talk to actual programmers, right?
Liam Kennedy,
and we talked to Randall Schwartz. It was a fantastic time to actually sit down with people who do this for a living and find out what makes them tick. We've got 2 brand new guests coming for you before we head into Perl, but until that time, I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
I'm Shannon Morse.
End of line.